This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Mostly cloudy and breezy for today. We'll have highs in the low 50s with winds out of the southeast at about 10 to 25. Can't rule out a few sprinkles as we head towards the latter part of the day. Overnight tonight, then, the winds will shift to the west as a cool front swings by. We'll drop down to a low in the mid to upper 30s. And for Sunday, increasing sunshine, and we'll still be above normal with highs in the mid to upper 40s. And then a storm system comes our way as we head into Monday night of next week. From the WDAY Skywatch Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki.
If you're looking for honest, dependable, over-the-top customer service at affordable prices, you'll want to do business with Welton's Tire Service in Lisbon, North Dakota. Welton's is a name you've grown to trust, proudly serving the area for 50 years. Welton's Tire always works hard for customer satisfaction and service. They offer brands for every make. If you need tires, repair, maintenance, or on-farm tire service, contact Welton's Tire on Main Street in Lisbon. Tell them Beth sent you. Online at weltonstire.net.
Game on! Game on! He shoots, he scores! 1 for 1! That is going wild! Score!
The hockey guys are on the air.
This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
The hockey guys. The tradition continues.
Okay, guys, show us what you got.
Hold on a sec. I'm gonna get me a beer.
Gentlemen, Eddie Christian, Dean Wilson, let's crack our beverages and get this show rocking.
Hey, hams to you.
Cheers, hams. Nice. Oh, sweet. And we got Big Doc Phil. He's sitting in the airport someplace unknown. I hope you are serving yourself up.
He's in some
nice.
He's in some free loading lounge in the Minneapolis airport.
Some lounge, someplace, giving yourself a beverage this morning. Good morning, Doc Phil.
You guys are so wrong. So yeah, the secondary circuit breaker for the starter on engine 2 was not working last night. They didn't have a spare part, so we rolled into Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport about 1:25 a.m.
We got that note from you in plenty of time to jump in a rental car and be live this morning. You knew yesterday morning at 5 that you could have made it.
I'm not driving in the middle of the night in deer season, Eddie. That's just one thing I don't do.
I know, but why? I can hear in the background, Dos Cerveza, por favor. I can hear that in the background.
Oh, you must have a different channel hooked up.
No, you're probably still in Mazatlan.
That's from Wilson's German class in high school.
Say, Doc, there was one of the best hockey games I've seen. The way the two teams played, I think one team could have played a little different style rather than try to mimic their opponents last night. But did you get a chance to watch Denver, North Dakota?
No, not at all. I was kind of either on the tarmac or in the plane, so I didn't get a chance to see any of that. But
well, let me tell you this: it was a heck of a game. Denver, their transition is unbelievable. Their seniors, Harris, Devine, they knew how to put the puck in the net last night. Polkamp, the transfer from Bemidji, was unbelievable last night. But I'll tell you this, Phil. North Dakota tried skating with them, and I think Denver played the right game on the road. They didn't wake the bear. And North Dakota needs to get back playing their take the body in the transition so they don't get back in the play. They need to play a little different game if and play their identity, which is follow through with those checks, right, Wills?
Yeah, one thought I had was injuries playing a factor. Not looking for excuses, but next man up. They've got a few guys bumped up at UND.
Yeah. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Valley Imports. The hockey guys brought to you by Valley Imports and Valley Pre-Owned, your best price leader in the region. Find your next vehicle at valleyimports.com. Thank you to Valley Imports. They've got rental cars.
And I'll tell you this, too. The Ben Strindon last night played very, very well. Scored his third consecutive goal in the last 3 games on a nice breakaway. Just put the Jets on and shot that puck, I think, perfectly. 2-3 feet off the ice, right above the goalie's pad to bring North Dakota within 1 goal. And so the Fargo South product, and Shanley, right? Very proud of him. And let's hear from Ben about his goal and what North Dakota needs to do different tonight. Big Ben out there, he tries to get out there and make a difference. And every shift he had, was productive. And right after that, Dr. Phil, I'll tell you, North Dakota had it within 10 seconds, another breakaway. And the big Manitoba leading scorer last year's late signee at North Dakota, Andrew, on his breakaway, ended up shooting right in the pads and missed it. But that would have tied the game, big turn of events. But Denver came right back. Literally 10 seconds later, cross-ice pass, dot-to-dot, one-timer, blew it right by North Dakota's goaltender. You can't blame him. You got to get sticks in those passing lanes. And that put the game away for Denver. North Dakota had the crowd. North Dakota had the momentum. Denver came right back as an experienced team. You know that, Phil, on the type of team they are. But you know what? I could have counted on one hand the number of body checks Denver took last night. They did everything they could not to wake the bear. And they played a perfect road game. North Dakota, again, I'll go back to it. They have to play not old-time hockey as we used to see, Eddie, right?
Oh, sorry about that. I thought Jeff was going to keep going on here through the break.
But we have to at least follow through with their checks to stop the rotation of the puck. Go ahead, Eddie. I'm sorry I talked, but you guys were all reading your cell phone Facebook messages. I apologize.
I just wanted to reach out and let you know that fortunately the NCHC stayed on top of the East Coasters because Denver is now pairwise number 1, so the pairwise is now in play. And Dartmouth is number 2. That was a little bit of an upset. Dartmouth knocked off Cornell, the Big Red.
4-3. Yep. And that
I thought the interesting game was Western and Colorado College. That went to OT. Colorado College on the road.
A little Warrior influence there. Goaltender and a brother. Brother scores.
Lost in Ice Arena. You know that. That's tough.
Little connection at CC. Crazy. CC had a goal out of a kid from Moorhead. Got his first college goal.
Very nice. Very nice.
Hastings got an overtime against Penn State, 5-4.
Yeah.
And Penn State was a ranked team. That's good for Mike. And you know what?
Absolutely.
Michigan State, we've kept our eye on that team. They just took it to Notre Dame 8-3.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that. But that was in East Lansing. And Boy, I think they are the team they're the sleeper team. Well, they're not so much a sleeper anymore. I mean, they're out there, but they've got it going. So it'll be interesting to see how they follow through. But,
Bulldogs woke up from last weekend.
Yeah.
oh, geez, way. Yeah.
And the Huskies, the other Huskies, the Huskies out of Yukon, that would be considered a pretty big upset with a 28 over Boston College, 5-4. And BC tried hard to come back, but Boston College lost to Connecticut last night. That one kind of shocked me a little bit.
And I'll give you one last score, Eddie, and we got about 50 seconds. We need to thank some people, but Maine, who I think is a big sleeper team, 5-2 over Boston University. Last week I forgot to thank our newest sponsor, Red Pepper. I apologize, but thank you, Red Pepper, for joining
to the grinder
the
crew.
Hockey
So
Guys.
thank you.
That's why I'm going to Slim Fast.
And to our intermission sponsor, Ham's Beverage Wholesalers. So
Cheers.
So this
And
period of
thank you
intermission
for the
sponsor
case you brought by.
using the purest
listen,
water and the
everybody.
choicest barley, grain, and hop. So we'll be back here on the Hockey Guys. Jeff, who we have coming up?
Well, we have Stacy Goodrich, who will be our next guest. You don't want to miss our interview of Stacy Goodrich. Very informative. And we'll be back to the Hockey Guys right after this. Welcome back to the Hockey Guys. Dr. Phil Johnson, why don't you introduce our guests that we're going to be visiting with this period?
Thanks, Jeff. No, I'd be happy to and honored to. I've recently met Stacy Goodrich, and currently she is the owner of So Connected. She's a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming, which is a real fancy and technical way of talking about speech and how that's all integrated and how we express ourselves. She also is an individual that specializes in eliminating mental blocks with athletes, and not only just athletes, but I think people in general. So it allows them to perform in their best in any situations they come across. She's worked with thousands of athletes internationally, from professional down to youth all over the world. She is the author of 3 books. The first one is a Mental Strength Coaching Journal for Athletes, Book 1, Mental Strength Coaching Journal for Athletes, Book 2, and Strategies to Become a Mentally Strong Gymnast, and that's a children's book. But I think that the thing that I'm so excited about is that she's doing some things that are really cutting edge. You know, the thought with mental illness with our athletes and things is kind of a dark corner, and she's exposing that it's not a dark corner. It's something that can be turned into a positive. And Stacy, I just want you to talk about and tell us and tell the audience kind of what you do and how you can help not only the athletes, but, you know, people in general, maybe even parents, with the principles and the theories and the practice that you have down there in Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here, and hello to everybody. And Phil, you bring up a really interesting and important point. And I think that when we consider mental health, I kind of turn it around and I look at it as mental strength. And without a little bit of a solution, we're always talking about the problem. You know, when we see athletes, we're going to notice their lack of confidence or their negative self-talk or their inability to perform their best in high, pressure situations. And what happens is we end up focusing on the problem instead of really thinking about what we can do about it and how to help them be able to manage those situations and manage those things that what I call are in their A circle or in their head. You know, we traditionally think about issues as, get out of your head, don't think about it, just do it. And when that doesn't work, we struggle because most athletes, without a solution, they're just stuck, and then they get disconnected, and then it just builds on itself.
Stacy, this is Dean Wilson, one of the Hockey Guys, and last night I was so excited because I was flipping through your bio and your research, and I got about 15 questions. We're going to have you on every weekend for the next month. But, here's my thoughts, like as a former coach, I thought of injuries. Like I had players that got injured and never came back mentally. They played scared. And I look back, like I think somebody's told me some countries, like whatever it takes you to rehab your injury, you need the same amount of mental help. If it's 6 weeks for a knee, 6 weeks to talk about you're fine physically, mentally get out of it. So what's your thoughts about that? Obviously physically, mentally rehab for these mental blocks.
Well, you bring up the first big obstacle that a lot of athletes has is to level up, right? They're going from freshman to, like 8th grade to 9th grade, right? In freshman year. And then they go from their senior year into college, and then college into professional. And there's always this huge growing pain in leveling up and being able to get through that obstacle and know what to do to be able to, play their best in that next level. The second thing that you bring up is injury. And first, preventing injury is really important. And you're absolutely right. It's a huge mental, it's all mental when it comes to being able to stay in their body mentally, stay focused, stay connected to prevent injury. But more importantly, when people get injured, they have this idea that what's in their, what I call in their A circle, whatever's in our A circle is what's controlling us or what's making decisions for us. And so the thoughts, I don't want to get hurt again. I got to get back to where I was before. all of these thoughts that they have in their A circle in their head, that's what's controlling them. And if we have athletes that are worried about injury again, that's what they're bringing to them, and that's what's going to happen again. And so you're right. We have to help them understand how to be aware of those thoughts, to shift them, to be able to lean into that thought. It's a valid thought. I don't want to get hurt again. Well, absolutely. But now what? We have to help them understand how they could have taken care of themselves to not get hurt in the first place. But then also giving them the ability to lean into it, to move forward beyond that mentality so that they can focus in hockey on how they want to move their body, what they need to do so that they can go after what they want instead of worrying about what they don't want.
You were bang on. I mean, it's, just
Yep.
Go ahead, Dr. Phil.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
My thought is that you're bang on. Like, I had players that never could come back from an injury. They played, they were hesitant, they were scared, and I go, how in the heck do you get over that? And they couldn't do it, and I didn't have the skill set. I go, where in the heck were you at when I was coaching? Because this is such a great mindset.
I know.
I have another thought.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I was a high school gymnast, so I'm with you. I didn't have these strategies back then either. That would have been really helpful.
Can I ask you a crazy question? Because I think I had 4 daughters. Is it a different mental mindset when you train women versus men, or boys and girls? Is it different, or is it the same?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that traditionally when I work with girls, I have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. And my youngest daughter is a Division I gymnast. She just graduated from Utah State. And my son was a Division III basketball player at Hamline University. And, I think that the boys traditionally are coached by dads and teachers a lot of the way until it gets to that higher level, clubs and high school and things like that. And they tend to, what I call, have their dads in their A circle. And that can either be really helpful or not helpful, depending on how they perceive their father or their coaches. And we get a lot of like you said, the hesitant. They're worried about what their dad is thinking. They're worried about what their coaches are thinking. And instead of them joining their A circle at a younger age to be able to manage those decisions and to be themselves within those situations, they tend to feel like they need to be better, or they're constantly thinking about what they're supposed to do instead of what they need to do.
Stacy, excuse me, I interrupted you. Go ahead, Stacy.
Well, I was just going to say about my daughter, I said to her, do you think, how would you feel if I were coaching you? She's like, oh my God, Mom, that's stupid. Like, that would be ridiculous for you to coach me, and so I think that's a lot of, but it depends on the sport. Obviously, there's different issues that every athlete has, but it's not what happens to us that matters. It's our perception of it that dictates our behavior.
Exactly.
And that's what makes all the difference in the world. Teaching people how to perceive it in a way that it doesn't affect them negatively over time, back to the mental health issue, so that they can be successful and be fulfilled in their sport and do what they want to do, and then take those resources with them beyond the sport. And that's ultimately what is so important and so valuable.
Stacy, Jeff Bradall here. Quick question. We got about 90 seconds, 1 minute. 30 seconds on parents and over-aggressive coaches. What advice can you give to them in 30 seconds or less on training athletes?
Well, parents, the best thing that parents can do is to validate their athletes' issues and validate what they're going through. What happens is when an athlete has a problem, my daughter comes home, she's like, oh my God, Mom, I think my back is broken again. And I'm in my head, I'm like, oh my God, why don't we just quit? Why are we doing, but that's not helpful to her. I don't need to fix her. She's not broken. And so giving the athlete the ability to say yes, and I can say to her, Are you just venting, or do you need me to help? Do you need me to jump in? Do you need me to go talk to the coaches? What do you need me to do? I think that's the best thing coaches can give to their children. And then also just coaches, if telling kids what to do worked, they would have done it. And so understanding the mental side could be extremely helpful for them as well.
Stacy Goodrich, we're going to get you on soon. Thank you very much. We're going to have to fly.
May have to replace Dr. Phil. Thank you. Citywide Electric is our intermission sponsor.
I'd be honored to have her replaced.
Citywide Electric, NorthDakota.com. We'll be back next segment.
Welcome back to the Hockey Guys. Boy, Wills, you asked some very intelligent questions. You really surprised me.
Well,
He's an educator.
Of course, but I worry about you guys. I go, we don't want to scare a person off like this, but just I have some big thoughts because I had players injured, and I go, dude, you're okay now. And Dr. Phil, you lived it, with injuries, and hey, your knee's fine, let's go, or your shoulder, or whatever. And I had guys fade into the sunset. I'm going, I didn't have the skill set. How do I work them through it? And she had a good talk about, parents, because I've also lived it too. Well, suck it up, get back out there, and you're still injured.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then you wreck your son or daughter.
That's right. And we call that, Dean, breaking the wall, breaking through the wall or breaking through the curtain. And that's that period of time where they've rehabilitated to the point that functionally they should be able to do what they want to do, but they need to test that knee. They need to put it at that position that maybe was the injury or they're worried about, like a cut or a plant or a twist, and know that knee, for instance, holds up. Then they move right on. And what we need to do is get her back on, because she talks about the circle concept, and it's the A circle. And what that A circle is very important. That's the people that you have in, close to you, that may be advising you or that you're comfortable with, or people that you need to get out of your circle, the bombastic coach or the real annoying, co-player or or a friend or somebody. Get those negative people out so that you can just really focus on your performance and what you need to do. So, yeah, we got to get her back so she tells you all about that stuff, because it's really interesting and it makes a lot of sense what she's talking about. I mean, you're kind of clearing up your mind so that you can focus on what you need to do as an athlete or just a human being. I mean, the things that she's talking about carry over just to natural life with the rest of us too. I mean, cleaning out the bad stuff, making the good stuff fall in so that it allows you to be more positive and more productive. It's amazing.
Well, Dr. Phil, let me ask you this. Would you ever, if you had to start your career over again with athletes and maybe just I would say any athlete of any grade and level to try to get back from their injury, would you ever try to do some type of co-treatment and bring in a psychologist? Is that something you would have done?
Yeah.
Or would do?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Ainsley Smith down at the Mayo Clinic, who is a psychologist, she brought that to light many years ago about breaking through the wall. That whole psychological adjustment that you need after you go through an injury or rehabilitation or surgery or what have you. But it's always been, the mental health's always been that dark thing in the room. Nobody really wanted to talk about it, partly because a lot of people don't understand it. And I think that's the problem. They're afraid to talk about it because they don't know which way to go, But when you listen to Stacy and you listen to the theories that she's got and that she's developed, it makes a lot of sense, and it really simplifies it to the point where those are things that can be adjusted right along and can be treated very simply, but they just have to be identified. And and people need to be willing to come forth and say, hey, you know what, I'm not feeling good in this. And they go, well, okay, let's work into it. Why aren't you? What's going on? And you start eliminating all those stressors and people just blossom. I mean, it's pretty amazing. The things that these people are doing, and she's an expert, and she's getting it done. Like I said, it's cutting edge stuff. I mean, I've learned so much from her in the last few weeks just by talking with her that it's like, if I'd have known this stuff when I was young, and like she said, man, it would have been a game changer.
100%.
It's just awesome.
Kinesiology, kinesthetics, believe it or not, ran into all this stuff in the sales and marketing world, if you want to understand how people listen. Wilson and I were sitting here. I just got a book from a gentleman that I was at an event, and he said, learn how to speak based on how people hear.
Wow. And
I think coaches, the game of people personalities. I'm gonna be cautious here, but it was pretty fun to control a rink when you're on the bench. If you understood how to do that, you could control the whole rink if you're a coach on the bench. And it's real. It's like I can't give away all my secrets, but with 4 kids, you learn pretty easily how you have to deal with each of them, and then how to get their attention. I would share with you that the game of life is pretty simple. The left ear is active and the right ear is questioning, so you better figure out how to communicate to people.
You know, Doc.
That's a good analogy, though, Eddie. That is pretty good.
You know, Doc, maybe the practice of medicine needs to go back and rethink this, and have this type of mental block assumed at the beginning, at the start of rehab, and address both simultaneously. Since, you know, if the majority have that issue, then let's deal with it.
You know, in the world.
And I think we're seeing that, you know, actually. I mean, when I talk with her, I mean, she's getting involved with some of these injured players, and, you know, and trying to tell them why they got injured. I mean, it's like, if you go out there thinking that, oh, geez, you know, we can't turn it over, that's in your mind, you know, and you're going to turn it over. You need to eliminate that thought and think more positive. How can we get down to the other end of the field, or how can we score the goal when we need to? I mean, it's pretty interesting and pretty simple when you start thinking about it. We make it too complicated. But you're right, Jeff. I mean, we need to treat the whole body. I mean, we can do all the physical things, but that mental part is so important. It's so necessary for the healing process when we have surgeries and rehab, and also for the healing process when the mind gets attacked by, you know, over aggressive coaches or ballistic parents, or, you know, any of those negative things that pop up.
So again, appreciate Fargo Force, one of our regular sponsors, Baggins, Strinden, and Winkle's junior partner, Dakota Refrigeration. Thanks for being the hockey guys. I'm going to go way back, and this is
and Red Pepper,
new sponsor. Thank you, Red Pepper. So this go way back. Guy named Zig Ziglar, really not that interesting of a person, but for those of us that were in the world of things, and if you've been around me, some of the kids will maybe hear, maybe we'll get a kid to call in like Tyler Clevin, but I'd always go up before anything started and write the word fear on the board and ask them, what is it? Zig Ziglar shared, fear is false evidence appearing real. So if you think you're getting injured, until you do, you're wrong. And when you're wrong, you're not very effective. But then when you get injured, you said, hey, I'm right. So the goal of fear is to be what you're fearing, right? So that's what Stacy gets into, is understanding a simple word, fear, false evidence appearing real. If I'm driving and worried about getting hit from behind, until I do, I'm wrong. I'm conflicted. I'm defensive driving. But as soon as I get hit from behind, oh, I got hit. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Boom, all of a sudden everything's good. So that's the world she's in. All of these things have been out there for years. It's fun to hear her connect and put it into a way to speak it. Dr. Phil, if I can say this, a way to speak it so that maybe some in our audience start to understand what you say and what people hear are different. So you got to figure out how to get that message delivered for them to be mentally healthy, but also performance healthy.
But it's just not in sports; it's in life.
Exactly. No, you could take that through the whole the whole population. And I think, you know, listeners, if they need more info, go to her website or Google her. It'll get you to all those places that So Connect, and then the things that she's involved with, research and the like. So, like I said, it really is cutting edge stuff. I mean, I'd not heard of any of this beforehand, and I wished I had. I wish I had not known about this 20 years ago. I'd have been able to help my patients even more, especially the ones that were kind of struggling through their recovery process.
And you can buy her book on Amazon or in your favorite store under Stacy Goodrich. We're going to have to get her back. Eddie.
So, doctor, when you had those clients and you told them they had to bend their knee or flex, the fear of getting that torn again is what keeps them from flexing. So you have to understand how to get them mentally through the fact it won't get any worse, right? So that's the stuff we're talking about. Cool stuff.
Yep, exactly. That breaking through the wall, you know, doing that activity that maybe was the same activity that injured the knee, and knowing that knee is going to be stable and you can go through it. Then boom, they're gone. It's like your analogy with hitting from behind, you know, the back end or the rear ending with the car. Once it happened, oh, okay, here we go. Fine, we're past that point. Now let's move on. And that's what they need to do. But they need help understanding how to do that, and I think that's where it's been lacking, especially in Western medicine. I think we're getting to the point where we understand that the mental part of recovery is just as important as the physical part, whether from surgery or just an injury. And she's clearly identifying that and allowing that to happen, so that there's going to be better outcomes, I think, in the long run.
So a little exciting news. We're going to have a mini M folk on the radio here at 9:50. We got Pat Micheletti is going to join us. He texted me and said, sorry for missing the first call, but the only reason I'm having coffee was Serratori. So for those in the hockey world, you understand that Mick's trying to get the inside scoop because Minnesota had a little challenge with Bemidji State on Thursday night. Game was way closer, I think, than most people anticipated it would be. And tonight, they're playing in Bemidji, so it's the home and home. Gophers had them at home. Now they're in the little house up there in Bemidji. So tonight, Gopher Interstate, Gopher and Beaver game. So Jeff, Pat said he'll be on with us on the final segment.
Yeah, so he said he was having coffee with Serratori. I think what he should have said is I was listening to Serratori speak. And I'm not gonna. We've talked about Stacy Goodrich for a while here, but it applies to life generally, which is awesome. Eddie, we need to thank some people.
Yeah, Gateway Chevrolet, our intermission sponsor. So thank you to Gateway Chevrolet, where you can save big on a Chevy Silverado, Equinox, or Blazer. Go online at fargochevrolet.com. Also, thanks to Welton's Tire Service, Carpet World, Halstonson Askew Wealth Management, and let's go have a grinder at Red Pepper again. Welcome on board with the hockey guys.
Welcome back to the hockey guys. Pat Micheletti, the Minnesota great. We had to get you on and say, hey, the Gophers are looking pretty darn good this year.
Mini legend, Patty Micheletti.
Hey, guys, I apologize. I missed the first call from you guys, but I have a great excuse. I was having coffee with our good friend Tom Serratori here in Bemidji.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Somebody you were listening to Tom is what
somebody
you were saying.
said you were awfully polite saying talking with. You could have said, I'm listening and can't answer my phone.
Can he talk without any adjectives?
Oh, man. You know what? I learn something new every time I talk to one of the Serratori brothers. And
they care.
Anyway, I apologize.
They care.
No, I'll tell you what. Watching the Gophers play, they've got your team, Pat. I'll tell you, they've got 6-7 guys. Woods, I love that guy. He can put the puck in the net. I see him on the score sheet every night.
Snuggerud.
Oh,
he's a good. You know what? This is a different Minnesota team, I think, than we've seen in the past. If you go back 2 years and they had the big line with Cooley, Nyes, and Snuggerud. This is a team that doesn't have that, but they're elite. They're a team that has that. They're 4 deep. You can't really say, well, that's their best line or that's their best line. They're pretty balanced throughout their lineup. And you mentioned Wood and Snuggerud up front, while Renzel and Chesley on the back end are, as close to NHL ready as I've seen in a long time. And you add Cal Thomas and Mike Kester, who's a fifth-year guy, and they've got a couple freshmen that are in the lineup also. They're pretty deep, but as I caution, it's super early in the season, and if we talk again in January or February, I can probably give a better assessment.
I take a look at Michigan State. I think they're, along with Maine, they're 2 dark horses that they're gonna have something to say come playoff times. They're 2 real good quality teams.
Yeah, I like Michigan State a lot because I think they have the best goalie in college hockey, in Trey Augustine. I just think he's the best. I know that the Fowler kid is good from Boston College, and but ultimately at the end you need to keep pucks out of your net, and he is terrific for Michigan State, and they don't have a lot of stars on their team, but they're a deep hockey team too. So Michigan State is one to keep an eye on for sure.
And then Pat, I know you follow this a lot, but Denver starting out the year their way they're starting the year is going to make it look like given how they came in and what they did at the end of the year last year, and to start the year out on the run they're on. How would you ever bet against them, right?
Yeah, I that's why I don't even talk about Denver, because I know Denver is going to be there some way, somehow. They'll probably go through some lumpy periods like every team does during the season. But David Carl and that staff gets them ready at the crucial time, which is the playoff time. And look they won the national championship a year ago, and they won all 3 games by 1 goal and 1 in overtime, or maybe 2 in overtime. I can't recall what it was, but they just have the uncanny ability to know how to win games. And so, they're they won, I don't know,
11
in a row or something like that.
Yeah, they haven't lost since March of
right
earlier this year. It's
right.
amazing.
And they're loaded again. They had the Polkamp kid from Bemidji. I don't know how. I didn't see the game last night.
Dynamic player, Pat. Dynamic.
Yeah, and they played obviously pretty well. And listen, North Dakota's got a deep team too, and and it's one thing, Eddie, and you know this. I never look at North Dakota until January because they always seem to me to October, November to kind of figure things out, experiment a little bit, and then they find their way come January, February, and North Dakota's got a very, very good team too. So listen, I think there's probably 5, 6, 7, you can go to 8 teams that I think could be in St. Louis at the end of the year.
And North Dakota starts out as schedule-wise as difficult as any team in the country.
Without a doubt, and that could be, and they do it every year, right? And a lot of it is by design, I think, because you assess, okay, this is these are the top teams, we're playing them, and we're not here yet. We got to get better here and better there, and that's why when I look at North Dakota, it's a January, February assessment of them for me.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the East Coast teams? I mean, they've been coming out of the chutes pretty hard, the Boston schools, and what are your thoughts about that?
Well, you mentioned Maine, right? And they're kind of like that team that nobody knows about. Why? Well, they're in Maine, and Ben Barr has done a terrific job of rebuilding that program because that program has gone from highs to lows to even lower, and now they're on their way back. They're filling their building, and they're one of those teams that you probably don't want to play in a regional tournament because they're that good,
and they'll probably host.
They're a good team. Boston College is, you look at their lineup, and you might say it is the best lineup in college hockey. Well, they go into UConn last night and lose. Yeah, it could be a one-off, but they're awfully good. Boston U is always there, although I think they've stumbled. You guys have seen them and split with them, but so they're a talented group also. So there's, like I said, there's 6 to 8, maybe 10 teams that I think are really elite in college hockey.
Well, Pat, listen, thank you, Pat Micheletti, Minnesota Gopher Great. Thank you for joining us.
I hope I didn't ruin my opportunity to come on again.
We have a Hams beer for you, buddy.
You would have said Gretzky, but you said Tom Serratori. Unexcusable.
Well,
unexcusable.
I know.
We've got to get you live in studio so you can actually enjoy being real with us here.
Exactly.
Take care.
Thank you, guys. Take care.